Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well today. I figured I would do a video today about snake body language, the do's and don'ts when it comes to taking them in and out of the enclosure, and a little bit on some hook training and some different techniques you can use to get your snake out of the enclosure safely so that you don't get bit if you don't want to get bit. Getting bit is something that personally I feel like you should just accept may very well happen at some point, unless you're just very careful all the time and you never miss a beat when it comes to your snake's body language and paying really close attention. But I would just always consider that, getting bit is something that can very well happen, and any animal can bite you. I mean, I have 3 dogs. They've bitten me plenty of times playing and roughhousing and taking a treat out of my hand too quick and broken the skin. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why animals can bite you, and it doesn't always mean that they're trying to hurt you on purpose. A lot of times when it comes to snakes, it's a mistake when they bite you. It's a food response, or they're being defensive because they're scared. So that's something that I would like everybody to keep in mind when they watch this stuff, because one of my snakes does bite me in the video, and I actually prompted that. It's my fault that it happened 100%. And so that's another thing I want to go over. All the things that I am doing that I tell you not to do, these are things that you should not do if you don't want to get bit and you want to just not deal with that altogether. So anyway, this is just an educational video. Take it or leave it. I really, I've had some friends want to know about snakes as pets, and they happen to have children too. So I mean, this is a really good thing to watch if you've got kids and you're considering snakes, because kids can very easily stick their hand in an enclosure, do the wrong thing and not know it, not realize it, and get bit. And you don't want that to happen. A lot of times when they're little bitty babies, it's not going to be that big of a deal. The one that bites me today, he's a 6-month-old boa constrictor. Literally not bad at all. Doesn't even hurt as bad as a bee sting. But to a child, that would be a lot different. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope that you learned something from this video. And I hope you share this with your friends and family if you know anybody that is considering getting a pet snake. Okay, so here I'm about to open up Harley's enclosure. Now I'm going to show you how she reacts when I just go in with my hand in front of her. As you can see, this is a very tame boa constrictor. She gives us a few tongue flicks, but that's about it. Now this is typically something you do not ever want to do when it comes to especially a boa constrictor, is sticking your hand in here right in front of their face. This right here is a do. You want to come in here with a snake hook because it's metal and it registers no heat, and you want to gently tap them on the head, and it lets them know that you are not feeding them. Then you can gently grab them from the back, as you can see here. This is so that their face is pointing away from your hand and you can safely pick them up once you get that really relaxed body language that shows you that they are not confusing anything you're doing with food time. I'm actually leaving her be because I got her out yesterday. Now we are moving on to retics. Reticulated pythons are very different, and they are very food motivated. Usually anytime you open the enclosure, they think something is up, and you really need to be good at paying attention to their body language. As you can see here, this is another don't. Do you see how she's honing in on my hand and she's tongue clicking like that? She thinks that it's something to do with food. Now I'm coming in with the hook. Now sometimes she does bite the hook. I'm coming in with the hook, and I am gently tapping her on the head, and I'm showing her that there is no food to be had here today. And once you do that, you can come from the back and you can safely pick them up. And once they are out of the enclosure and you have registered that with them that it's not time to eat, they are perfectly fine. Once you break that feed response, you are good to go, and they are literally like puppy dogs. Now here's another reticulated python, our super dwarf, Henry Motley Tiger Ripley. You can see when I come and approach the enclosure, he knows something's up. He's looking around, he sees me opening the top. Their natural reaction is to shoot straight up like that and see what's going on. Now this is another don't, so don't do this if you don't want to get bit, but I'm sticking my hand in front of his face to show you how he is fixated on my hand. He knows my hand's registering heat. That's the same thing that happens when you put a prey item in here in front of their face. It registers heat, and they smell and they hone in on it like they're going to strike. So you can see he's very interested right now in my hand. This is something, again, that you do not want to do if you do not want to get bit. This is the time where you would need to get out the hook again and do what I did just a minute ago with Eden. Clearly, Ripley is not going to come out very far enough for me to demonstrate the hook technique with you, so we're just going to have to leave him out of this one. Here's another don't. I'm putting my hand in here in front of Medusa's face. I want you to watch her behavior because she starts tongue flicking and kind of extending her head a little bit like she's trying to figure out what my hand is. She doesn't know if it's something to eat or not. You don't want them to make the mistake of deciding that you are something to eat and giving you a bite. Obviously, I'm narrating this after the fact, so this is the moment I'm about to get bit by Caw. Look at his body language. He is poised. He is ready to strike something. I'm going to try to slow it down for you if I can, but I'm sticking my hand in here just like I've done before. And when I put my hand over here and he hears something making noise in his plants, he thinks it's food. So I've slowed it down as much as I can. Watch, he is about to strike. So even though I've slowed this down all the way, it is that quick, y'all. Watch this. See how quick? Now he tagged me and he let go. See? He actually did think for a second that my hand was food, and you saw how he let go. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes they will not let go, but he actually let go when he realized that it wasn't a mouse. Now watch the difference when I come in here with the snake hook. It does not register heat. I gently touch him on the head and he backs away because he realizes that it has nothing to do with food. Now I've kind of slowed this part down for you a little bit so you can actually see my hand and kind of get a good look at what it looks like when a boa constrictor bites you. Now keep in mind, this is a young one. He's only 6 months old. But each of those little beads of blood are where each one of his different teeth went into my skin. Like I said, it hurt less than a bee sting, but if this was an adult boa, you would be in a lot of trouble. Alright, so we're going to take a look at Priya here. See, immediately when I open the tub, she knows something's up. She's flicking her tongue. Okay, and she usually will definitely come forward if something is opening her tub or makes some noise. Now, right now she's alright, but she's cautious, see? See how she just turned her head? She's watching this camera. And she doesn't know what to think quite yet. I've never had any issues out of her. She does hiss sometimes when she's annoyed if she doesn't want you to mess with her. But there have been plenty of times where I've just had to get her out regardless of whether or not she hisses, because she'll completely mess up her tub and there'll be pee and poop everywhere. So even if she's in a bad mood, I have to get her out. Which there are techniques you can use to do that. She sees my hand. See, if I were to put my hand any closer, she could still tag me right here. My hand registers heat, so she could very easily confuse that with food. Now, ball pythons are not food-driven snakes, although sometimes people say that their individual ball pythons have a bad attitude, but the majority of ball pythons are not going to behave that way. They're not usually going to think that every time you open their tub or their tank or anything that you're going to be offering them food. So usually the hook training or tap training technique is not needed with ball pythons. Her face is right here in the front. I don't really have a way to get to the back of her to actually pick her up from behind like I wanted to kind of demonstrate for you. As you can see, she's kind of coming to check out the camera. This camera doesn't register heat. like my hand. She's not going to confuse this with food. If she was being defensive, she would strike at it, but that's purely out of being defensive. She's not going to mistake this camera for food. Right here, she's in the S position, so she'll get out of it very quickly because that's really not her personality to kind of sit in the S position. She's got a very outgoing personality, but I want to show you another thing. If you ever want to get them to come to you, you never want to put your hand directly in their face. You never want to put your hand directly in their face. You want them to sort of like come out of the tub. I like to put my hand right here underneath the lip of the tub so that if she wants to come out, she can choose. So I'm not putting my hand in her face. I'm not scaring her. I'm not bothering her. I really wish I could get a good spot behind her body. I'm going to do this. See how I'm kind of going behind her? She could have popped me right there if she wanted to. But I'm going behind her. I'm going behind her. I'm grabbing her like this, away from her head. See, it was a little tricky earlier because I had to go past her sideways with my hand to get to the back of her body, but now I've got her from the back a little bit down, not at the end, but more in the middle of her body. So she could turn around and get me if she wanted to. But generally you want to get them from the back and you want their head to be pointed away from you. Again, it's going to be hard to demonstrate anything with her because she's really good and she's very used to being handled. But once you get them out, they're perfectly fine the majority of the time. See, she's completely fine. Like I said, the majority of my snakes are very hand tamed, so it's hard for me to actually show you some crazy mean snake behavior, but I hope that this video helped you a little bit. This girl right here, hard for me to get her to do anything and look mean or do anything remotely mean because she's really sweet, which is a good thing. But I might have to do an update maybe when all of my boas and the reticulated pythons get bigger, so that you can actually see what it's like when they're a lot bigger, what the difference is. Because if you get popped or tagged by an adult boa constrictor or an adult mainland, even dwarf or super dwarf reticulated python, it's not going to be a good day. It's not. So that happened earlier with Ka. That was a baby snake bite. So remember that. That's just a baby snake bite. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope you learned something today. And gosh. And we'll see you next time.